Well, we're looking at the first week of the session, I believe, so, possibly filing the legislation, and hopefully there'll be one on the House side identical to it, so we can run together and maybe take the partisan politics out of it.
And in terms of trying to line up support in the House, how far along in discussions are you?
Well, that's up to Jonathan Blue and Mr. Glasscock and Keep, the Kentucky Equine people, to work those people over there for votes. And incidentally, that's Kentucky Wins, which is the name of the organization that we're trying to do. But let me talk about why I think we ought to have casino gaming. Ryan, it is a jobs bill, if you will. It is economic development. This legislation would create 10,000 new jobs on a statewide basis. 2,500 of those jobs would be located in Jefferson County. So that's economic development, it's jobs. It would be set up the Louisville area to be more of a destination place. We're talking about bed tax money, people that stay in hotels and motels, sales tax dollars. It'd be a tremendous boost. And also, the budget's hurting. Nobody wants a new tax.
Yeah, and how much of that is going to be a factor in terms of leveraging legislative support?
Well, there's a lot of needs in the state. Obviously, education is needing new monies in various areas. We got this new Medicare, Medicaid. Obamacare has mandated some of that, and so we have a whole new set of problems coming down our way. And go ahead.
Well, when you look at that, we're not hearing the governor talk about any specific revenue measure, even though he's mentioned some of those needs before. Mm-hmm. Is the governor going to have to get on board for something to pass?
Well, I've talked to the governor in the past, and I believe he's with us on this legislation, and I think he'll be very helpful.
And this legislation, first, we should say this is a clean constitutional amendment, so to speak. It would just say casinos should be legal in Kentucky or not.
Basically, that's it. It does allow for some monies or some revenues for our thoroughbred racing in the state. Obviously, that's a signature industry in the state. We want it to survive. We want to be the horse capital. Ties into the Derby. The Derby puts the state of Kentucky on the worldwide map every year. It's a big plus for us. We have our sales in Lexington. I'm talking about the horse sales there.
Right. But of course, the horse sales in Lexington, they've been going up. Does that, and I asked this to Jonathan Blue and Ed Glasscock, does that at all undermine the argument from the horse industry that this is necessary for them?
It is necessary for them to survive, I believe, because we want to be the best. And we can be the best in the country by adding to our purses and adding to our breeder stock and so forth. It's just a plus all the way around. Also, Ryan, it would generate, we estimate, in a 2-year budget, $600 million of recurring money every 2 years. And we also estimate it'll be an additional $300 million in one-time money for the bidding or the sale of the licenses.
Now, how confident are you in that long-term revenue, given that some states, like Ohio, which has just recently come on with casino gambling, they've had mixed results quarter to quarter. Sometimes their casinos are down in revenue, and they're not catching on the way maybe some lawmakers thought they were promised.
Well, I think we're being somewhat conservative with our numbers, especially the $300 million a year with 7 casinos. That's basically what we're heading for. Now, remember, we're going to put, we would put 2 casinos on the Tennessee border. Tennessee doesn't have casino gaming, and we believe those 2 casinos would be really revenue producing.
And one would be in the Franklin area then?
I-65 at the Tennessee border, I-75 at the Tennessee border.
And in terms of the expectations for that, how much have you gleaned from the instant racing, which from the numbers looks like that has been a boon to the track at Franklin?
Yes, it has.
What kind of a role is that going to play in your all's legislative strategy to line up support for this round of an expansion?
Well, it's a plus. It's generating revenue, and obviously we're leading that way.
Do you feel like that gives you empirical data to say, look, we think this can work?
It's helpful, very helpful. It's not a negative, let's put it that way. Going back to the revenue base, now there is one negative. to this that you're hearing from various groups, that it's detrimental to the poor, to the people that have less revenue. But let me remind everybody, this is voluntary. They don't have to walk through the door.
Right, but and that's a conversation I had with Ed Glasscock and Jonathan Blue, and they said, look, there are all these casinos already within driving distance. There's a big difference between driving 100 miles to a casino and driving 30 miles or fewer to a casino. Does that at all concern you?
Well, obviously, the less driving, the better off we have. We'd keep those people on our side of the river. You know, Northern Kentucky, we got the same situation where they're driving across the river into Cincinnati or Ohio. Let's keep them on our side of the river. Let's keep the money at home and generate the revenue.
Even if some of that money is coming from maybe people who can't afford to gamble, but who are hooked on it.
Well, you always have a certain amount of people that are hooked on gambling. I suspect they're already there at the casino. They're across the river in the casino, but yet we got the problem. So we can generate enough money to maybe help some of those people. It's a very small percentage of people that have a problem, but you know, there is no such thing as a perfect piece of legislation. I think they're becoming some reality setting in. You know, it is shrinking on I'm talking about the horse racing. It's shrinking on a national basis. We want to shore up that particular signature industry. I think they're coming along because, you know, as I told them in our meeting, you know, to do nothing is deadly. To do something has its problems.
When you say to do nothing is deadly, do you think the horse industry it becomes extinct?
Not extinct, but I think that if we don't shore it up and help it out, that it can become less of an entity, and I want us to really blossom on a worldwide stage, if you will. You know, we have all these multi-billionaires flying in here buying our horses, and we're known through the world as the horse capital. And let's keep it. It does generate a lot of money for the state.
What about Churchill Downs specifically? Because the question came up about would they support a casino downtown as opposed to at the racetrack?
Well, first of all, it's not our position or my position as a legislator to decide where a casino goes. You know, we're supposed to provide the economic development, the opportunity, and whoever bids on that license, when they get the license, decides where the casino goes. It's not our job to do that.
But Churchill Downs' concern about that has potentially helped doom previous versions of this approach. Do you think you all have moved beyond that?
Yes, I do. I believe, according to Mr. Glasscock and Mr. Blue, I believe, and talking to the president of Churchill, that I believe we have moved on beyond that. So.
All right, so since we're talking casinos, give me the odds. What are the odds that this bill passes in 2014? I think they're
better now than they were yesterday. Let's put it that way. It is going to be a tough sell. We have people in the state that, you know, we have that thing we call the Bible Belt out there, and we have legislators that just do not want to vote this bill, you know, and of course they're going to vote their constituency. So remember, it's a constitutional amendment. We have to have 23 votes out of 38 in the Senate. We have to have 60 out of 100 in the House.
Can you speak to how many votes you think you have in the Senate?
At this point in time, I think I've got about 20. So I need those folks in the horse industry and the Kentucky Winds Group to show up in Frankfort and help sell it.
So about 20 with roughly how many undecided, do you think?
That I don't know. Obviously, I need 3 or 4 more. So I believe that's where we're at this point. So.
Well, when you look at the budget, you mentioned that. Let me pivot to some budget issues. What do you think are the 1 or 2 main budget challenges Kentucky faces that you think will be highlighted in this 2014 session, whether it's through the spectrum of gambling or not?
Well, we have all these new people coming into the Medicare and Medicaid program, which is could be a tremendous cost to the state. Down the road, and we need to be proactive on that, try to generate money to help it out. And we also have our educational system. We have underfunded those, especially the student money that every child gets or every school gets for attendance. We have cut that in the past, so we need to shore that up. And
well, the effect has been a cut. You all actually haven't cut it. but you kept it flat while the student population grew.
That's
In
correct.
effect, it became a cut.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you think that has set Kentucky and its education system back, or are we at risk?
I think it's more we're at risk. You know, we need to be proactive in our education. Some of these school districts have a lot of problems. We need to shore them up and help them out as best we can.